You're listening to Brand, the marketing show. With your hosts, Thomas Sterling.
But now's the time. Giddy up and go.
And Veronica St. Cyr.
So on brand, I will take it.
An unfiltered conversation on brand strategy.
That's where the best work happens.
Marketing trends.
They're keeping it relevant.
And emerging technology.
$1 billion. That's when you know you made it.
You're excited.
I'm pumped.
All right, let's kick things off.
What's up, everyone? Today on the show, we're talking about the Super Bowl, one of the biggest brand moments in advertising for the entire calendar year, and often, I think, a good benchmark for what the future of marketing trends and otherwise we have to look forward to. $7 million ticket price, I guess if you got in early, $8 if you got in late, and these spots, average $3 to $6 million to produce. I mean, seriously, it is one of those moments where marketers throw it down all on the field. And today, we're going to unpack what went well, what didn't, and which ones have staying power because, I don't know, I guess it's been a little while, Veronica,
It's been
right?
a bit, yeah. And we're going to kick off a lot of sports puns today, so get ready to rumble.
I mean, we did also take an entire year off, so I don't know if we're early or late. Maybe we're prepped for the next Super Bowl.
This is our preseason. It's fine. I'm not going to stop. I'm not kidding. But yeah, you're probably wondering, like, the Super Bowl already happened. But yeah, think about that amount of money that you invest to produce and place that spot. Don't we owe it to all these brands to still talk about it and ensure that people don't forget?
This is kind of a litmus test. If it's still in our brand, if it's still in your brand, then hey, they actually did their job.
Exactly.
And what about the spots we bring up that you already forgot about? Was that a bad return on investment?
Exactly. I'd say too. So today we're going to talk about which campaigns kept the momentum, which flopped after the hype, which ran straight to the end zone. I know sports. Which brands saw measurable success, spikes in thank you so much. Spikes in engagement. And again, what does this all say about the year ahead?
And with that, let's get into it.
$37.1 million households tuned into the Super Bowl. Sounds like a lot.
But less than last year.
Yeah, less. 5% less. And the Super Bowl halftime show, shout out Kendrick. Not shout out Drake. Sorry, buddy.
But they also,
down 4%.
They also made it easier to watch. Like
I know.
For streamers,
I know.
You can watch it for free.
Yeah. So just setting the stage for that, our goal today is to talk about some of the campaigns that had staying power, some that took some big swings. I don't know if any took some misses. We might have opinions on that. Do you want to share a couple that stuck out to you, Tom?
I would say my top two that have the longest staying power. First one would be Instacart. And I wouldn't say that there was anything super original about what Instacart did, right? Their campaign, We're Here, featured iconic mascots like the Old Spice guy. Oh my God, who wants to see the guy on the horse? I'm ready for that. Pillsbury Doughboy, Kool-Aid Man, all these nostalgic characters delivering groceries. I just thought it was a nice feel-good moment. Everybody loves nostalgia. You saw nostalgia last year in the Super Bowl. Let me play a clip from Instacart just to give you a little bit of a taste and a feel. And I'm going to narrate this because there really isn't a whole heck of a lot to grab onto from an audio standpoint.
Release the hounds.
Puppy monkey baby.
The spot opens and you have literally the Cheetos man talking into a microphone saying, release the hounds. You have hounds that are basically little wiener dogs in hot dog costumes. I don't know what these wiener dogs are actually called. What's a wiener dog? Is it a
Dachshund?
Dachshund, all right. Dachshund just running everywhere.
But it's a wiener dog. It's the species
exactly.
name. Yeah.
Dachshund running everywhere. And then you have the green man. I forget. What's the
Jolly Green fucking giant, Tom.
And a Pillsbury Doughboy riding one of these Datsuns down the way. Introduce Mr. Clean running across the cityscape. Kool-Aid Man comes running out. There's just so much motion. And then guy on a horse from Old Spice greets you at the door as they deliver the goods. It's just so wild and out of the box. And I think in some ways we talk about like seeing celebrities, partnerships, etc. But when you really pack a spot with people and pop culture icons like that, it really it's a sensory overload.
It was a sensory. Your sensories look overloaded right now still.
And another one that I just kept hearing about, people just couldn't get enough of. Did you see what Mountain Dew did?
Did I seal what Mountain Dew did? That was the Liquid Death VP of Creative that we will get to at one point, talked about the Super Bowl being Bizarro World for advertising, and I feel like this would be the featured ride
or
at
a
Bizarro
dick
World.
measuring contest.
Yeah, that came up too.
People are just like, I'm just gonna spend. I don't care. Let's get all the celebrities.
Let's do the craziest shit. Hey, haven't you ever thought, isn't it weird that Seal's name is Seal? Like, that was like the idea.
And Seal sold it.
Seal sold it.
I'm
Seal
sorry.
sold seashells at the seashore.
I have to play just a soundbite from this. Just with his seal hands trying to hold on to the Mountain Dew, just talking about just a kiss of a lime. It's good. It's great. It's humor. It just gets you going. I love that. It's simple. They're not trying to do too much here, but it's out of the box and it's interesting.
We also saw some firsts this Super Bowl. This is like quite the fucking debutante moment as a brand to have your first Super Bowl ad. Fetch, the rewards app, $1.2 million live immediate post-game giveaway. Little gimmicky is what it got called. It was a little cheesy.
But you participated, right?
But I said, is it this easy? I will not lie, though. Immediately deleted the app after I didn't win, and I can't find any information on the increase of user base or user acquisition following this. That's the data I want. If anyone listening to this, you work at Fetch, put the data in a manila envelope.
And send it to us.
Yes, send it to us or meet me in a parking garage and let's just do an exchange because I need the numbers. I need to know if it worked. They gave away $10,000 to all these different people. The names came up really fast. I think a couple people from Massachusetts won. I was not one of them. Poppy, heavy hitter in the healthy soda market. #1 soda on Amazon that people order to offices, to their home, which is a lot to unpack there.
I thought their spot was really good because for a long time I've been I'm like, what is it about this brand that's so compelling? And I know that they've had some real success in the Gen Z and millennial space, but definitely geared towards a younger audience, definitely geared towards a healthier audience, but still soda, health. And I think their spot this year really kind of pulled it all together for me.
It did. And so that spot ran. And since that spot ran, which it's been, a fortnight since the Super Bowl, and the whole point is like what had impact, 2 healthy prebiotic sodas have joined the market. One is Spindrift Soda, prebiotic soda, marketing themselves like crazy. And then Coca-Cola enters the ring, fully launching their prebiotic under the Simply brand. So competition equals flattery. It's almost like you can ride the coattails of, like, if you think about it, Poppy just had the first Super Bowl ad ever for a prebiotic soda. And now you have other brands that are like, what a great time for us to launch ours. Poppy just spent like $16 million talking about it. And now, boom, they can like kind of work off of that goodwill without their name even being mentioned because it's a new category that we're watching emerging. Another that kind of caught my attention, it actually did really poorly if you look at some of the statistics in terms of ads that resonated, but OpenAI. I think you mentioned the second it came on the screen, I
knew it instantly.
Those dots.
But
I know.
It's anybody that's had a long form conversation with, we call him Chad around here, but Chat GPT, and you actually go into speech mode and you're talking back and forth. You recognize those dots.
Immediately.
I think there's something special about that. That means for the discerning person that's actually interacting with their product, you knew right out the gate.
Yes.
And so that's success. But there's a huge cohort of people that don't have that experience, that haven't necessarily leveraged and leaned all the way into AI. And for them, they may have said, all right, what is this like weird dot video that I'm watching
But
here?
like, how do you know that something is to be taken seriously if they have a Super Bowl commercial? So I guess AI really is here to stay in case anyone was confused otherwise.
They put themselves out there with major things like putting a man on the moon. I mean, they really said AI is the next leap forward. And so in some ways, how much value is that, right? Do they need an immediate return? Is it shifting public consciousness? Who knows?
So the Eagles walked away with the Lombardi Trophy. I'd like to give out my own trophy on the podcast, which is the Rolling My Fucking Eyes Award. Is that cool?
Well, I think before you do that, I think you need to zoom out and let everybody in on what would be the show notes for this year, meaning the 3-hour Veronica spreadsheet that you put together. I mean, I put some notes together, but I think you need to let the audience in on your mind map.
Prepare your mind for a mind explosion. Probably a better way to do this, probably could have used ChatGPT or an AI. I live documented at every commercial. I did not stop typing throughout the entire event. Actually, the game was the only time I had a break.
Oh, geez.
And I used an emoji system to create a system that I came up with, which was tracking what commercials used humor, serious emotion, influencers, cross partnerships, and introduced technology and first-time advertiser. So then I zoomed out from all of those notes and was able to see
beautiful
a
mind.
correlation.
I'm just like, there's a chalkboard.
It was like a okay mind.
So with that, who gets the Rolling My Eyes award?
So the Rolling My Eyes award goes to Jeep with the Harrison Ford ad. There's always fucking one. There's always one ad where it starts and you're like, this is so serious in tone. And it's either another Kendall Jenner Pepsi commercial or you're like, it's got to be a car ad. Do you remember, like, was it, God, it must have been like 6 or 7 years ago. And I think it was Ford. And, I'm sorry if this was wrong. Used a Martin Luther King speech. And Martin Luther King Jr.'s daughter, like, came out and was like, what the fuck? Like, my dad would not have been cool with this. Like, don't use his likeness to sell vehicles. We had a little bit of a moment with that with Harrison Ford. It actually reminded me of the scene from The Newsroom. Do you remember that? The opening scene where Jeff Daniels get asked what makes America the greatest country in the world, and the conservative goes, I don't know, freedom and freedom. That's literally the ad. It's like showing veterans, like a veteran coming home from what you think is combat and hugging your daughter, and you're like, oh God, please don't be a car ad. Please don't be a car ad. You'd think it'd be a Ford ad, but it's a Jeep ad.
Okay,
and Harrison
but the
Ford
line
lets you know.
At the end when he says my last name is
I love
Ford.
a Jeep. That's what makes me happy. And my last name's Ford. You're like, oh, that's good. It almost made up for the fact that you just tried to ransack my emotions using veterans to do it, which is crazy. But there's always one.
Well, sales are down for Jeep, so they're going to try some new stuff.
But it does talk about the brand building of leaning into American made, which is very relevant in the political zeitgeist. Speaking of political zeitgeist.
How about that Starlink T-Mobile ad, am I right? I mean, we got Elon wrecking havoc and or making everything more efficient, depending on where you're at. You might love it. You might hate the man. You might want to shoot his satellites out of the sky. But if you're a T-Mobile customer, it might be pretty good for you because T-Mobile and Starlink teamed up to do what? Give your phone access to service anywhere you can see the sky. They launched this partnership and they basically said you can have any carrier you want and you can immediately sign up online for the beta. So I did. And guess what? I'm still waiting in line. Who knows?
So you were part of the ad, which had 12.6 times the online engagement than the average ad.
Yes.
That was you.
That was me. I was part of the 0.6.
Yeah, I knew it.
But ultimately, rounding error, at the end of the day, it shows this is a moment with a captive audience, and you're starting to see more and more. A few years ago, when you talked about like the crypto Super Bowl, right? It was like the first time you started seeing QR codes and things in ads. Now you have an engaged audience that's like, what's this one? This one's funny. Wait, oh, freebie? Boom, click. Oh, something I can sign up for? Let's go. Let's do it. That's a huge shift. That's a huge change. People putting the popcorn down, whatever the hell they're eating, and they're ready to do whatever you need them to do if the offer is good enough.
Uh-oh. Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Veronica, you all right over there? You're doing a lot of drinking, and it seems kind of like you have a case of the Mondays.
Hey, What a stellar tee up. We are going to talk about Coors Light Case of the Mondays campaign. It is a beautiful multi-phase, multi-channel marketing activation.
Multifaceted program.
Hopefully we do something cool in post.
Strategery.
Most people saw this where weeks before the Super Bowl in January in Times Square, there was a huge Coors Light ad with a typo. It said like refreshment instead of refreshment.
And people lost their fucking mind.
Because who doesn't like feeling smarter than people who work in marketing?
But people also are like, how did this make it through? How could they make such a mistake like this? How could a huge brand? And they got so much.
And
news.
they said, oh, we're sorry. We just have a case of the Mondays. Psh, there we go. Wish I thought of that.
Mondays Light.
So they then announced their limited edition Mondays Light pack because it was all based on this single insight, which is the amount of people, 60% of Americans say that the Monday after the Super Bowl is the worst Monday of the year. Kind of shocked it's only 60, but whatever. So they have this announcement. They use this insight. They build this campaign. They kind of have this guerrilla marketing viral moment where they launch it. They move into teasers with these slow moving sloths, which the sloths are all of us on Monday, or the 60%. They announce a Peloton partnership where they're like, hey, the Monday after the Super Bowl is hard. We're going to give you a free meditation session and a free ride on us.
Are you supposed to drink the beer before you get on the Peloton
You know what?
or
They
afterwards?
never fucking address that, but
Okay.
yeah, that's for next year, 2026.
And there was merch. I mean,
There was merch.
there were tons of things they did to create, like activate it, get people excited about it.
And then they have the actual Super Bowl spot with the sloths. And then they even have a post-game, like back promotion, how we continue to pay the campaign forward. I mean, when you think about how much effort and planning went into that, how many different pieces of creative and the timeline, that's like a beautiful execution when you think of making the most of that singular day and that singular spend.
Well, that's what it is. It's about taking the singular day and figuring out what you can do before and after to really create a moment.
Amen.
And when we talk about other brands, obviously you talked a little bit before about Liquid Death. Their VP of Creative came out on LinkedIn, wrote a lovely post talking about, again, we said it was like a dick swinging, dick measuring, who knows what moment for brands where people are just, everyone's trying to outdo each other and do so in a way where there's virility and other things that are going to make that brand moment maximized. And in some cases, like the typo for Coors, Liquid Death went all in on drinking at work.
Drink on the job, drink on the job. Everyone is drinking on the job.
I don't know. I feel like we're running its course here. It's like, come on, I get it. You sell water in a delivery vehicle that looks like a beer. It looks trendy. It looks cutting edge. It looks wild. I'm all for giving people alternatives to alcohol. I think that part's cool. I think drinking at work and like trying to make drinking at work kind of funny. I feel like Heineken killed that years ago with the 0 campaign. It's just like nobody's drinking at a meeting in the back. Like, look at Ted. Ted's in the corner. Ted's like,
Ted's getting crazy.
Like, I'll take 10 more of those. They don't have any beer in them. It's great.
Yeah, Ted's getting reported to HR completely sober.
Like, Ted's
Yikes.
just very hydrated.
Ted, it might just be you.
Just leave Ted alone.
But I think that's what's so funny is the VP of Creative, who I greatly admire, who's super vocal on LinkedIn.
Awesome brand.
Talked after about how, like, it's kind of a moment to just show you spent money to spend money. And he said something which I loved, which is that we're not, like, you're not making ads for the people watching it. Like, you're kind of making a Super Bowl ad to say you made it's almost like an industry-specific event.
Well, it's also kind of like you see the ads for these brands, and they're wild, they're crazy, they're, in some cases, just way too far, right? And then the next day or the next news cycle, you see more ads that are way more of a return to safe. So it's not like they're doing this crazy out-of-the-box marketing.
You're right. It is
all
totally
year
in
round.
line with their brand. It also was 704% more effective than the average Super Bowl ad, which is kind of nuts, behind Starlink and T-Mobile's partnership and Rams ad, which I don't know if you remember the Ram ad, but it's pretty goofy.
I did. It was crazy.
Drove some crazy
It
engagement.
did not make me want to buy a Ram, but I still appreciate it, and I've thought about it
And
since.
we're talking about it right now, so I guess something worked.
Absolutely. To play devil's advocate, the flip side of this, talking to some brands that actually have the budget to compete and be in the Super Bowl, some that made the conscious choice to not be a part of it, they say, is that really worth it? Sure, I got $7-8 million burning a hole in my pocket, plus the $3 to $6 million to create the creative, and it could be way more than that to really get all the partnerships, all the celebrities in there, who knows what. I think it'd be interesting to also look at the brands that maybe take a year off from time to time. Maybe they didn't get the return. Maybe they didn't necessarily see what they were looking for. Nike, famously kind of like hasn't done a Super Bowl ad in a while, came back into the fold. But I think there's an analysis there, not just looking at the ROI, but on the counterpoint, who's abstaining from the Super Bowl?
Yeah, and when you think about how much of an impact you can have leveraging the brand of the Super Bowl and football and not actually need to buy that spot, there were some winners on social media who did just that. Some who also did have Super Bowl spots, may I add. One, DraftKings absolutely dominated. Number one in engagement, impressions, volume of posts. I mean, sports betting and
lots of losers.
Real-time sports.
Some
kind
winners,
of
a couple winners.
Go ahead, a couple of them. The house never wins. And Elf Cosmetics. We saw a makeup ad in the Super Bowl, which is really cool. I think that there's something to be said for that, where you have a lot of people who are tuning in. You have households that are tuning in, which means you probably have people that aren't your average, typical male football watcher that are also tuning in on that. Give them an ad for something.
Your red-blooded Americans need cosmetics too. You just don't know.
And Bud Light and Doritos, again, creating real-time, snackable, quick content, churning stuff
very
out.
snackable, the Doritos. They snack so
God,
good.
I love them, yeah.
And now for something completely different.
So if we were going to put this to work, I would say, what are we seeing when we rewind the tape? First and foremost, it's make the moment last, right? The brands that we've talked about that have really won in the game have figured out how to create multiple moments. And last year when we did this analysis, we said some of those brands that tried to make the moment last, we lost the plot along the way. So I think there's some level of importance and consistency, right? But each touch point has to thread together, and that's where you really get the most value. It's not just that one Super Bowl ad, it's all the other touch points that tie together that make you memorable and make you unforgettable. Next thing would be experiential marketing still wins when it makes sense. Can we make an ad that ties people to an action, makes them scan a QR or take some sort of an action? Well, then we're going to get a higher return on investment. We're going to get more out of our audience. And so those brands won as well. Next, I would say humor. And that's not a surprise. It feels like we talk about humor every year, right? Humor changes. What's funny last year may not be funny this year, and there's certainly trends to play into there as well. Last one, I'd say budgets don't necessarily win. It's not about the most highly produced ad that gets the most reach. Sometimes it's about more so the relevance of the moment, right? And then authenticity over everything. People can smell, they can sense when you're being inauthentic, and the brands that really tune into that authenticity are the ones that are the big winners.
Why you trolling like ain't you tired? Trying to strike a chord and it's probably A minor.
So if you had to take anything away from the show today, Veronica, what are you thinking?
It's probably that the Super Bowl isn't just a game, it's an ad showcase, and it's a test lab showing you a crystal ball into marketing's future. And some brands took big swings and landed, and others, let's just say somewhere, a CMO is probably updating their LinkedIn profile.
And mine would be, you don't need an $8 million Super Bowl spot to win in 2025. Sure would be nice, though. No. You need to take a page out of the winner's playbook, though. And that's about smart, sustained marketing, authentic brand storytelling. That's what's going to make mid-market brands stand out. And with that, we're out, folks.
That's it for Brand to Brand. Stay tuned for more. And if you like what you heard, give us a follow. We're out of here.